Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. Pakistan hands over BSF Jawan Purnam Kumar Shaw to India. Shaw was in Pakistani Rangers custody since 23rd of April 2025. US President Donald Trump plans to lift long-standing sanctions on Syria, also agrees to sell Saudi Arabia an arms package worth nearly $142 billion during his visit to the Gulf. Russia and Ukraine prepare for direct talks in Istanbul aimed at ending more than 3 years of conflict. Trump says US Secretary of State Marco Rubio will attend the crucial meet. So up first, the big news of the day. A border security force BSF Jawan Purnam Kumar Shaw was handed over to India today. The constable inadvertently crossed over to Pakistani territory while on operational duty in the area of Firozpur sector on 23rd of April 2025 around 11:50 hours Indian Standard Time and was detained by Pakistani Rangers. He had been in the custody of Pak Rangers since then. The constable was handed over to the Border Security Force through the joint checkpost Atari in Amritsar at 10:30 a.m. local time. The handover was conducted peacefully and in accordance with the established protocols. The repatriation of the BSF constable has become possible due to the consistent efforts of the Border Security Force through regular flag meetings with the Pakistani Rangers and through other communication channels. And DD India's Amritpal Singh joins us from Punjab's Sahibzada Ajit Singh Nagar on the story. Amritpal, first of all, could you give us more details about this BSF Jawan Purnam Kumar Shaw? How did he end up at the other side of the international border?
Okay, Kumar Shaw was posted, as you said, in Firozpur sector of Punjab. The BSF is the border security, border guarding force of India, which guards the international border with Pakistan. So Punjab has about 532-kilometer long border. In the Firozpur sector, he was posted. On the 23rd of April, he inadvertently crossed over to the other side. Though the border is fenced, but the fence is at a little depth. Often farms of farmers, etc., lie on the other side of the fence. What happens is the farmers, and harvesting season was going on. The wheat crop was being harvested at that time. What happens is they take their machinery, their tractors, their combiners, their harvesters, etc. The fence gates are open. The BSF accompanies them. They go and work on their farms. On the other side is again, the Pakistani side, which again they are at a little distance. The posts are at a little distance. The terrain is such you can there are instances where villagers often cross over. Though BSF crossing over these instances are rare because they have maps, clear demarcations, etc. But there could be a possibility because it's an open terrain. So the fence, as I said, is at a little depth. So he crossed over on the 23rd of inadvertently. He was captured by arrested by the Pakistani Rangers, which is their border guarding force. He was obviously questioned, interrogated, and they would have found that he has inadvertently crossed. Mostly what happens in such circumstances is, unless they feel that he's involved in inimical activities or spying, etc., they return the batch. This is a mutual exercise which happens. A flag meeting was called by the sector commanders, by the BSF sector commander with the range commanders, but by that time 22nd Pahalgam had already happened. There were heightened tensions. Military action hadn't begun, but after the 22nd of the Pahalgam incident, there were heightened tensions between the two countries. So they kept him. They generally don't keep a person if they don't find anything on him for so long. After the military tensions de-escalated, he was returned this morning at 10:30.
Okay. Okay. Very quickly, Amrit, how should Purnam Kumar Shaw's repatriation be looked at in the light of the current India-Pakistan tensions?
They had to, there were regular meetings between the sector commanders. The BSF was talking to the Rangers. They were telling them, they would have questioned, not found anything on him. There were diplomatic channels open. The Ministry of External Affairs was in touch with the Pakistan High Commission here. The Indian High Commission in Islamabad was in touch with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So there was hectic diplomacy and hectic talks between both sides that were on. But given the tensions, it became all the more difficult. So they had to apply diplomatic pressure to get him back. So in that sense, it took that much time, and it's a happy occasion that our constable is back. Tanvi.
Okay, thank you very much, Amritpal Singh, for reporting on the story from Punjab. In other news, the government of India has declared a Pakistani official working at the Pakistan High Commission in New Delhi persona non grata for indulging in activities not in keeping with his official status in India. The official has been asked to leave India within 24 hours. Charged Affairs Pakistan High Commission was issued a day march to this effect on Tuesday. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in a recent televised address to the nation, laid out a clear and resolute doctrine for dealing with terrorism. Operation Sindoor is the centre's clearest articulation of zero tolerance, no compromise policy to safeguard national security.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर ने आतंक के खिलाफ लड़ाई में एक नई लकीर खींच दी है। एक नया पैमाना, न्यू नॉर्मल तय कर दिया है। पहला, भारत पर आतंकी हमला हुआ तो मुंह तोड़ जवाब दिया जाएगा। हम अपने तरीके से, अपनी शर्तों पर जवाब देकर रहेंगे। हर उस जगह जाकर कठोर कार्रवाई करेंगे जहां से आतंक की जड़ें निकलती हैं। दूसरा, कोई भी न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल भारत नहीं सहेगा। न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल की आड़ में पनप रहे आतंकी ठिकानों पर भारत सटीक और निर्णायक प्रहार करेगा।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also highlighted that Operation Sindoor is India's new normal in its policy against terrorism.
हम आतंक की सरपरस्त सरकार और आतंक के आकाओं को अलग अलग नहीं देखेंगे। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के दौरान दुनिया ने पाकिस्तान का वो घिनौना सच फिर देखा है, जब मारे गए आतंकियों को विदाई देने पाकिस्तानी सेना के बड़े बड़े अफसर उमड़ पड़े। स्टेट स्पॉन्सर्ड टेररिज्म का ये बहुत बड़ा सबूत है।
Now, India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has penned an op-ed on Operation Sindoor detailing Prime Minister's zero tolerance doctrine against terrorism in a national daily. The minister explained the decisive retaliation, nuclear blackmail rejection and accountability for terrorist sponsors, among others. This article has been headlined, a no compromise doctrine, how Operation Sindoor showcased a swift yet calibrated response to terrorism. So how could India hit 13 targets, including 8 air bases, so precisely inside various strategic locations in Pakistan? How did Pakistan fail so miserably in this regard? These questions have rattled experts and analysts across the world. Let's now decode India's defense mastercraft. On the intervening night of 9th and 10th May, when Pakistan unleashed its deadliest attack against Indian military and civilian areas with missiles and drones, they were challenged by the impenetrable, the Iron Dome, or the Indian wall of the self-defense called the Akashteer.
It was Akashteer, which stopped all Pakistani inbound airborne drones, missiles, micro UAVs, and other loitering munitions and prevented them from entering the Indian airspace. Akashteer is probably the first operational AI war cloud built entirely without any foreign components or satellite dependencies. It successfully provided common real-time target interception, tracked and indulged in drone warfare. It integrates various radar systems, sensors, and communication technologies into a single operational framework. Akashteer is part of the broader C4ISR, which is Command, Control, Communications, Computers, Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance framework, working in coordination with other systems like ISRO satellites and NAVIC GPS. Akashteer's brilliance lies not in brute force but in intelligent warfare. Traditional models of air defense rely heavily on ground-based radars, human-monitored systems, and surface-to-air missile batteries triggered by command chains. Akashteer breaks that mold. Its technology allows for monitoring of low-level airspace in battle areas and efficient control of ground-based air defense weapon systems. Akashteer is capable of intercepting and neutralizing hostile UAVs without detection, using no active radar signatures. Reports indicate that during last Sunday night engagements, the drone attack coordinated by Akashteer entered sensitive command zones undetected, leaving Pakistan's US-supplied AWACS and ground radar systems paralyzed. Akashteer adds a new chapter to our strategic doctrine, indicating a shift from defensive posturing to proactive retaliation against terror threats. Akashteer's presence in our military assets exudes confidence that it gives a clear edge over terror-sponsoring state Pakistan's air defense capabilities. Experts across the world are now terming Akashteer as a seismic shift in warfare strategy. With this, India has emerged as the first non-Western nation to successfully integrate its autonomous drone swarms, indigenous satellite surveillance, and AI battlefield coordination into a single real-time combat platform. In one line, Akashteer has demonstrated that it sees, decides, and strikes faster than anything the world has fielded. Unlike conventional systems, Akashteer functions autonomously with drones capable of altering flight path, selecting targets, and coordinating strikes without operator input. The most disruptive element of Akashteer is its combat AI. It absorbs data from multiple fields, weather terrain, radar intercepts, and makes real-time decisions, reroutes missions, and execute attacks autonomously, beating even NATO's current battlefield AI loops. The system is vehicle-based, which makes it mobile and easier to handle in hostile environment. The sensors integrated include 3D tactical radars, low-level lightweight radars, and Akash weapon system. This is beyond anything we have seen before, said many Pakistani defense experts, which is equivocally echoed by many across the globe.
And now we are joined by defense expert Brigadier Jeevan Rajpurohit, retired on the show. Welcome, Brigadier. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in a recent address to the nation, outlined his no terror policy and its three key pillars. Could you simplify for us these three pillars and tell us their significance in the context of Pakistan's sponsorship of terror?
Sure. Thank you so much, Tanvi. The most important aspect that we must understand from our own Prime Minister and the previous briefings that we have seen, the conflict zone that we have seen so openly in today's environment, brings me to very, very conclusive aspects shared by the Prime Minister. He was very clear that the new normal is in here to stay. What does it imply? He very clearly annotated that terror and talks cannot go together. Terror and trade cannot go together. So when the export and import between India and Pakistan has been stopped, means Pakistan is devoid of almost 50% of its trade that used to come from India. And he barely used to give us 0.06% of the trade, which didn't really matter. So it will hit him harder because trade is the one that will give him the food to eat. Today you see the inflation in Pakistan and you'll understand. And the third aspect he said was water and blood cannot flow together. He directly hinted at Indus Water Treaty that if you want to flow blood in India, we will not give you water. And there is already hue and cry in Pakistan by the very thought that they will not get water. Second major aspect that he mentioned was nuclear blackmailing. Just before 6th of May, all MPs of Pakistan were on hilltops shouting that they would use nuclear bombs. What has happened? All fizzled out. Because you cannot blackmail India because you have nuclear weapon. In fact, there is already International Agency for Atomic Weapons going into Pakistan, looking in the Kinara Hill, which is supposed to have some leaks. They have taken the samples from there to identify why 2 consecutive earthquakes. That's their capability. So we need to understand that we need not be deterred by the fact that he has the nuclear weapon. He does have Chinese support, but that doesn't deter us from maintaining our sovereignty and integrity. The aspect that he mentioned was Operation Sindoor is a new niti and it continues. The operation continues to be in progress. Therefore, while ceasefire is in existence, it has come about. Should you try a misadventure again, you'll be hit harder than what you got it last time.
And
the other part is retaliation. He used 3 very critical terms. He says, if you do something, we will be very swift and decisive. So he says, we will retaliate at the time of our choosing, place of our choosing, and the terms of our choosing. So we design the retaliation. We will respond, and we will respond to the extent that Pakistan will not be able to take it. The next aspect he mentioned was terrorism, wherever it grows. If it is Pakistan, that means it is sheltered by Pakistan. Therefore, the terrorism and Pakistan are one entity. They are not 2 different entities. So this time we hit terror camps. Maybe next time, Pakistan government, be ready. Be ready. Take it as a very clear warning that you cannot hereafter take us as a talking country, soft country, and so on. We are here to strike. If we could reach Mangalyaan, if we could send Chandrayaan, we are here to give you the toughest time that you've ever thought of. Zero tolerance.
Yes, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi also framed the issue of terrorism in a global context. He said it's not an era of terrorism, if it's not an era of war as well. So how do you see that statement?
Absolutely. In fact, Tanvi, you see, earlier when we were hit by terrorism, the world did not realize. They did not accept. The UN till date does not have a clear definition of terrorism because they have not suffered this. It was only after 9/11, the US was hit and then the Europe was hit that they realized, oh, it is something to be careful about. And the US was the first one to send their troops to India to be trained by Indian troops in counter-terrorism operations. So see, that's where the game lies. So when Modi said, he says, I convey to the world community, he says, we must understand this and there is no tolerance about this. He says, we shall go after this and the world must take cognizance of it. That means the world is already frustrated by terrorism. You see, Germany hit, France hit, UK already inside, America facing the brunt of it. So the world has had enough of it. The world wants to get rid of it, but they cannot take strong actions. So India has shown the way that you can take strong actions. You can be democratically strong government, and you see the sequence of actions that the democratic government has taken. Taking everyone on board, maintaining the perfect sequence with the CCS taking decisions. And even this morning when he spoke to Home Minister and NSA, see the sequence of actions.
Yes.
The sequence of actions says it all, that it is at home and to the world at large. We convey that terrorism is not accepted.
Okay, sir. And I have to talk to you about Akashteer. It has stunned the world. It's making headlines. And as our report also said, it sees, decides, strikes on its own. Why is indigenization of weaponry for the armed forces important for a country like ours? Is it equally important for all the 3 armed forces, the Army, Navy and Air Force? And which kinds of offensive and defensive weaponry is it most important and why?
Tani, you have explained Akashteer extremely well. I must compliment. But more than one explanation, there are n number of explanations on indigenization. You see, it is Make in India scheme that we are on. And if you see the emblem of Make in India, It is a lion with a technology pasted on all over it. So it's the strength with the technology that is here to stay. And it is not, I think the defense is simultaneously being prepared to be self-sufficient in defense technology and defense equipment, weapons and the spare parts and everything else that we need to maintain our defense ecosystem. But you see, we started with we started with Make in India in economics, in society, in space, in ocean and everywhere else. Simultaneously, we focused here, and what we see, when the time has come to deliver, the nation has delivered. Three forces, the intelligence agencies, the paramilitary forces and everyone in the country in this times of crisis has delivered. Why? I'll tell you why. It has added beautiful way to express our context of self-development. Akash is one part of it, which is again Akashteer that you explained. I'll not go more detail into it. The others are like D4 anti-drone system. Any drone of enemy coming inside will be met with the anti-drone system of ours. D3 Rohini, that sees the entire area. We are well prepared with this. In order to see the enemy's artillery firing or enemy's missile firing, we have the Swathi weapon locating radar system. So the moment enemy fires a surface-to-surface missile or fires a drone, our weapon locating radar identifies this. So this Swathi, which has been developed indigenously, actually ensures the complete surveillance and the transparency in the entire skies, to understand as a layman language. One of the most important aspect in any battle is information of the enemy. Acharya Chanakya said, Dushman ke bare mein sab kuch malum hai, then we need to only apply selective technique. And there are n number of techniques for multiple types of threats that we can manage. And information of enemy is one which we have developed, Sanyukta. The Sanyukta system of identifying, seeking information of the enemy, critical information of the enemy. And actually that has been exhibited. The airstrikes by us, the 9 locations that have been destroyed by our Air Force, the 9 locations of the terrorists, whether it is Bahawalpur, Muridke, Sialkot, right up to Kotli in the north. So this has been possible only because we knew exactly where is the enemy. The next one is that Nagashastra. Nagashastra is the Indian drone that has been developed. And this Nagashastra, you see the name itself. The Nag says it all, that I will not spare you. And this anti-drone is a fabulous, is an Indian drone that's a fabulous system that goes and strikes at the enemy. And enemy could not even identify this. We have seen it shown by our things. And most talked about as BrahMos.
BrahMos, yes.
BrahMos is all 3 variants: Indian Army, Indian Air Force and Indian Navy. Our Indian Air Force has adequately shown it and we have used it. And it is a fantastic weapon which has also been sought by Brazil, Philippines, Indonesia, and
yes,
the
it's
demand
it's a story where lots of success has been achieved, and it will be followed by, you know, our export story will also get more mileage from it. Thank you so much, Brigadier Jeevan Rajpurohit, for explaining to us this indigenized weapon system, our weaponry, you know, on target, which has achieved its missions in Operation Sindoor. That's all the time we have for. Thank you very much, Brigadier, for being with us on the show. All right, let's move on. The Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, along with Chief of the Army Staff, General Upendra Dwivedi, Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal AP Singh, and Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi, called on President Draupadi Murmu and briefed her about Operation Sindoor. The President commended the valour and dedication of the armed forces that made India's response to terrorism a sterling success. India's Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, joined by General Upendra Dwivedi, Chief of Army Staff, Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi, Chief of Naval Staff, and India's Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal AP Singh, shared insights on Operation Sindoor's success. The top brass emphasized strategic clarity, multi-domain execution, and enhanced joint operation. Deliberations with veterans and think tanks highlighted the future of integrated warfare, underscoring India's evolving defence capabilities. India firmly rejected China's latest attempt to rename several locations in Arunachal Pradesh, reiterating that the state remains an integral part of the country. In response to media queries, Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal said that China has persisted with its vain and preposterous attempts to name places in the Indian northeastern state of Arunachal Pradesh. Consistent with our principled position, we reject such attempts categorically. Creative naming will not alter the undeniable reality that Arunachal Pradesh was, is and will always remain an integral and inalienable part of India. In this series, India has withheld the X, formerly known as Twitter, account of Chinese media outlet Global Times. The Indian embassy in Beijing had earlier cautioned state-run tabloid Global Times to verify messages before posting them on social media amid the India-Pakistan conflict. Indeed, India's Akshay Dongre is tracking the story for us. Akshay, what is China's game in attempting to rename several places in Arunachal Pradesh when that state has long been an integral part of India?
Well, it's always been an integral part of the country, and this is not a new attempt by China to push tensions up as far as Arunachal is concerned, and even when it comes to our northeastern states. China has done it in the past. China has tried to do it time and again, and this time the timing of this incident is also raising eyebrows as far as India's hostilities presently with Pakistan are concerned. While we have absolutely and vehemently refuted all of these claims by China, one message has also been given to the Chinese government and the Chinese military that these kind of nefarious design may work inside Pakistan, their ally, or any other part of or for their domestic politics. But when it comes to Arunachal Pradesh, it is as integral part of India as Jammu and Kashmir, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, or for that matter any other state. It is part of the country. The people are Indians. The people are part of our civilization as well as our culture. China doesn't have to look far if they have to see the proof of patriotism of people from Arunachal Pradesh. Because if you take a look at the soldiers who have fallen in their line of duty during the hostilities with Pakistan, you also have a soldier from Arunachal Pradesh. So that is a big message that should be going from India. It has gone. In fact, the Ministry of External Affairs has vehemently refuted all of these claims and has said that any kind of such claims will not be tolerated by the country.
Okay, thank you very much, Akshay, for all those updates. In a significant nationwide outreach effort, the 11-day-long Tiranga Yatra began across the country on Tuesday. The Yatra honors the courage and sacrifice of India's armed forces, particularly in the light of the recently concluded and successful Operation Sindoor. So, Muslim Rashtriya Manch on Wednesday organized a protest at Lal Chowk in Srinagar. Holding tricolours in their hands, a group travelled all the way from Rajasthan to Srinagar, expressing their anger against the brutal killing of 26 innocent people in Pahalgam. Ramesh Khajuria from Muslim Rashtriya Manch said that the rally travelled from Delhi and reached Pahalgam, where it paid tribute to the 26 martyrs.
राजस्थान से 9 तारीख को इस भारत रैली का शुरुआत करी गई थी, जो कि दिल्ली में आके वहां से विधिवत तरीके से हमारे जो मार्गदर्शक हैं मुस्लिम राष्ट्रीय मंच के आदरणीय इंद्रेश कुमार जी ने विधिवत तरीके से राष्ट्रीय फ्लैग दिखा के वहां से रवाना किया। और हमारे मुस्लिम राष्ट्रीय मंच के जो राष्ट्रीय संयोजक हैं, नेशनल कन्वीनर है अबू बकर नकवी साहब जो है, इनकी अध्यक्षता में ये भारत रैली वहां दिल्ली से होते हुए हरियाणा, पंजाब, जम्मू कश्मीर और कल पहलगाम में जाके बैसरन वैली में जो पाकिस्तान ने अपने उग्रवादियों द्वारा वहां पे कॉवर्डली जो अटैक कराया था, जो अटैक किया था, जो जिसमें 26 जो लोग जो है शहीद हुए और उनके वहां पे उन लोगों के लिए वहां पे श्रद्धांजलि दी गई।
Odisha Chief Minister Mohan Charan Majhi flagged off the bike rally under Tiranga Yatra in Bhubaneswar to honour the Indian Armed Forces. Riding motorcycles with the national flag, participants paid homage and showed solidarity to the armed forces. The event showcased Odisha's commitment to supporting and recognising sacrifices made by the nation's defence forces. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami led the Tiranga Shaurya Samman Yatra in Dehradun this morning. With the Tiranga Yatra, which will conclude on May 23rd, it is expected to help foster a deeper connection between citizens and the armed forces, reinforcing the Modi government's message of decisive leadership and national security. While in Lucknow city of Uttar Pradesh, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath participated in the Bharat Shaurya Tiranga Yatra. The rally was marked by energetic chants and a sea of waving national flags. And you're watching DD India News. Are still to come on the show. Trump calls Iran the most destructive force in the Middle East, vows that Iran won't get nuclear weapons. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney unveils a cabinet of familiar and fresh faces.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Here are the top stories of this hour. Pakistan hands over BSF Jawan Purnam Kumar Shaw to India. Shaw was in Pakistani Rangers custody since 23rd April 2025. India rejects China's renaming of several locations in India's Arunachal Pradesh, calls it absurd and unacceptable, withholds the account of Chinese state media outlet Global Times. US President Donald Trump plans to lift long-standing sanctions on Syria, also agrees to sell Saudi Arabia an arms package worth nearly $142 billion during his visit to the Gulf. So, US President Donald Trump kicked off his trip to the Gulf with an announcement that the United States will lift long-standing sanctions on Syria and a $600 billion commitment from Saudi Arabia to invest in the United States. The US agreed to sell Saudi Arabia an arms package worth nearly $142 billion, which called it the largest defense cooperation agreement Washington has ever done. Trump and Saudi Crown Prince also signed an agreement covering energy, defense, mining and other areas. Trump has sought to strengthen relations with the Saudis to improve regional ties with Israel. The agreement covers deals with more than a dozen US defense companies for areas including air and missile defense, air force and space, maritime security and communications. Trump said that he would remove all sanctions against Syria, saying that they had served an important function, but it was now time for Syria to move forward.
Was in Syria, which has seen so much misery and death, there is a new government that will hopefully succeed in stabilizing the country and keeping peace. That's what we want to see in Syria. And I'm very pleased to announce that Secretary Marco Rubio will be meeting with the new Syrian foreign minister in Turkey later this week.
Speaking at an investment summit in Riyadh, Trump bashed Iran, calling it the most destructive force in the Middle East. Fresh talks between Iranian and US negotiators to resolve disputes over Tehran's nuclear program ended in Oman on Sunday, with further negotiations planned. Trump said he was willing to strike a new deal with Iran, but only if its leaders changed course. Trump warned that the United States will never allow it to obtain a nuclear weapon.
If you know that, they were a virtually bankrupt country because of what I did. They had no money for terror, they had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, and take all action required to stop the regime from ever having a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon.
Gulf leaders on Wednesday attended the GCC summit in Riyadh with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and US President Donald Trump. Trump is on a 4-day visit to the oil-rich Gulf states that include stops in Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. Trump also met Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara ahead of the GCC summit, a day after announcing that the US was lifting sanctions on Syria. With this, he became the first US president in 25 years to meet a Syrian leader. On to the Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy expressed that he would join Thursday's Istanbul talks only if Russian President Vladimir Putin attended, aiming for an unconditional 30-day ceasefire. He urged US President Donald Trump to help secure the meeting. DD India's Kajal has more in the following report.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy stated that he would participate in the talks in Istanbul on Thursday, only if Russian President Vladimir Putin is also present, aiming to agree on an unconditional 30-day ceasefire. He added only Putin could enact such a pause.
If Putin is ready to meet not only the media purpose but in real life, then on the level of leaders, we will do everything to agree on a ceasefire, because I must reach a deal about a ceasefire with him, because he is the only person to decide. Unconditional ceasefire, according to the experience of the past days and months, can be secured by Putin only. If they will not come, if Putin will not come, or if a ceasefire will not be supported by the Russians, by Putin, exactly by him, it means only one thing, that Russia is not ready for any kind of negotiations.
Zelenskyy urged US President Donald Trump to help secure a meeting with Putin. He also cautioned that the United States and European Union should impose strong sanctions if the talks failed to take place. Zelenskyy stressed that he would make every effort to ensure the meeting happens and to secure a ceasefire. The Kremlin has not confirmed whether Putin will travel to Turkey after he himself proposed Russia-Ukraine talks in a weekend Kremlin address. Meanwhile, Trump announced that US Secretary of State Marco Rubio will be in the US delegation at the talks in Istanbul. US wants Russia to agree to a comprehensive 30-day land, air, sea and critical infrastructure ceasefire. French President Emmanuel Macron expressed support for new sanctions against Russia if Moscow does not agree to a ceasefire.
They reject the idea that the ceasefire is unconditional. They want it to be the part of the discussions in Turkey. I will explain why we did all this and where we are. And so, our intentions, in fact, if they confirm the non-compliance, is to impose sanctions again. There are financial services and there are hydrocarbons on which, by doing what we call secondary sanctions, that is, by sanctioning those who resell these things would change.
The planned talks have become the central focus of international peace efforts as leaders and diplomats from around the world look for a breakthrough to end the conflict. Kajal's report, DD India.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrived at the Tel Aviv District Court on Wednesday to testify in his long-running corruption trial. Netanyahu appears weekly in a Tel Aviv court to testify in the 2019 indictment in 3 cases involving gifts from millionaire friends and allegedly seeking regulatory favors for media tycoons in return for favorable news coverage. He is Israel's first sitting prime minister to be charged with a crime and has continuously denied any wrongdoing and has pleaded not guilty. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney, who won an election last month, unveiled a new cabinet overhaul with 24 new faces. The new ministry includes 28 cabinet ministers and 10 secretaries of state and is largely composed of new faces. The cabinet is also supported by 10 secretaries of state who will provide dedicated leadership on key issues and priorities within their ministry's portfolio. Carney ensured gender parity and has appointed 14 men and 14 women as full cabinet ministers or secretaries of state. Indian origin Anita Anand has been appointed Canada's new Minister of Foreign Affairs. Anand previously served in roles including Defence Minister. Besides, Brampton MP Maninder Sidhu, also of Indian origin, has been appointed to serve as Carney's International Trade Minister. Francois Philippe Champagne retains his job as Finance Minister, while Dominic LeBlanc remains Minister of US Trade and Intergovernmental Trade. Following the unveiling of the new cabinet, Carney outlined the government's top priorities, creating new economic and security relationships with the United States. Peruvian Prime Minister Gustavo Andrienzen stepped down on Tuesday, a day before he was set to face a censure vote in Congress concerning escalating crime rates and the recent murder of a group of minors. Andrienzen resigned following a day of major government changes, including Boluarte replacing both the economy and interior ministers. Andrienzen's resignation marks another challenge for Peru's deeply unpopular president, Dina Boluarte, who now faces the task of replacing her entire cabinet. While she can name previous ministers to the same roles, but only under a new prime minister. And next we take a look at other stories making news around the world. Venezuela inaugurated Victory Square or Plaza de la Victoria in Caracas to honor Russia's victory over Nazi Germany in 1945. President Nicolas Maduro recently visited Moscow to join the 80th anniversary celebration of Germany's surrender in 1945. In Basel, Switzerland, the first 10 Eurovision 2025 finalists were selected after a vibrant show filled with stunning visuals and surprises. 15 countries performed at the Sankt Jokuschal, but only 10 made it to the finals. Vietnamese Buddhists in Hanoi welcomed the relics of Shakyamuni Buddha during the Vesak Day celebrations. Vesak is the holiest day for Buddhists, marking the birth, enlightenment and death of Siddhartha Gautam, popularly known as the Buddha. You're watching Lead India News. Are still to come on the show. English football club Sunderland beat Coventry to reach the Championship playoff final. And India shines at Cannes 2025, bringing timeless Indian storytelling back to the world stage. A restored version of Satyajit Ray classic Aranyar Din Ratri to be showcased. Rajasthani film Omlu to make international debut. Welcome back. You're watching Lead India News. I am Tanvi Taneja. On to some business news now. India's retail inflation has eased significantly, offering relief to consumers and policymakers alike. According to the Ministry of Statistics, the Consumer Price Index for April 2025 stood at 3.16%, the lowest since July 2019. This marks a decline from 3.34% in March, with rural inflation dropping to 2.92% from 3.25% and urban inflation cooling to 3.36% from 3.43%. The decline is primarily driven by a sharp drop in food inflation, which fell to 1.78%, the lowest level in over 3 years. Both rural and urban areas saw cooling inflation, with rural inflation dropping to 2.92% and urban to 3.36%. The easing inflation is attributed to falling prices of vegetables, pulses, fruits, meat and fish, cereals and personal care products. Rural food inflation fell sharply from 2.82 to 1.85%, while urban food inflation declined from 2.48 to 1.64%. Indian stock market started Wednesday on a high note, with Nifty 50 opening at 24,614 and the Sensex at 81,278. Nifty 50 is 1,663 points shy of its all-time high. The indices' positive trend follows a notable recovery in previous sessions. Investors are closely watching the market's movement, anticipating potential upside targets. In the United States, Elon Musk might have been stepping out of the political spotlight to focus more on his companies. In Europe, meanwhile, he's making headlines at the intersection of business and government. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin now. Lars, what can you tell us about Musk's latest dealings?
Thanks for having me. Well, I can tell you that they're highly controversial. The EU has just put together some numbers upon request from a politician representing the Green Party in the European Parliament. And they told us that the world's richest man is currently receiving hundreds of millions in subsidies from the EU to several of his businesses. That starts with simple advertising contracts, and the EU spending some 630,000 euros on advertising on X, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. There's also 177 million euros the EU just paid to Musk's SpaceX for some satellites he launched using his Falcon 9 rockets. Those satellites are needed for the EU's own satellite navigation system, Galileo. So there are more or less regular business deals, but there's also some 150 million euros the EU pays as a subsidy to a Tesla subsidiary. And that money is for the buildup of a charging infrastructure for electric vehicles, which is, of course, something the EU wants to support while we're working our way towards reaching our climate goals. But frankly, it's also something Musk needs to make electric vehicles more attractive to customers and sell more Teslas, which as of late he's failed to do, of course, as Tesla cars have fallen out of favor here in Europe due to Musk's very controversial politics.
Okay, so can we say that Elon Musk's foray into politics was detrimental to his business then?
It's hard to say. After all, most of Musk's business is in the US, and I've seen statistics about subsidies and government programs he's receiving there, and that is billions of euros. Also, considering that Musk has Donald Trump's ear and is actually right now on a trip to Saudi Arabia and Qatar with the US president and will likely make whatever deals there, he might be getting out on top anyway. But with regards to Europe, Musk's politics have cost him dearly. Sales at Tesla are down everywhere, and catastrophically so, with sales, especially in Germany and Scandinavia, down round about 70% over a year ago. So in Europe, people are done with Musk, and so are politicians in Brussels, apparently.
Interesting how you put it. People are done with Musk. Thank you very much, Lars Holter, for joining us on DD India News. Time now for some sporting action. First updates from cricket. Smriti Mandhana has climbed back to world number 2 in the latest ICC Women's ODI batting rankings. This development comes after the left-handed Mandhana hit her 11th ODI century, scoring 116 runs in the final of the 2025 Women's ODI Tri-Nation Series against hosts Sri Lanka. Mandhana's century, which included 15 boundaries and 2 sixes of 101 deliveries, helped India win the final by 97 runs. She was the highest run scorer for India in the series, hitting 264 runs in 5 innings. Elsewhere, the young Jemima Rodriguez shot up to a career-best world number 15 rank. Rodriguez was India's second highest run scorer in the Tri-Series, scoring 245 runs in just 4 innings at an average of 61.25. On to soccer, Sunderland reached the championship playoff final after a last-minute goal by Dan Ballard. He scored with a header in extra time to make it 1-1 on the night and 3-2 on aggregate against Coventry. Efren Mason-Clark had earlier scored in the 76th minute to take the game in extra time. The match was full of tension at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland will now face Sheffield United at Wembley on Saturday, 24th of May. The winner will earn the promotion to the Premier League. Sunderland finished 4th and Coventry 5th in the regular season. Sunderland hope to return to the top flight after 8 years. Coventry will regret a late missed chance by Haji Wright, who headed wide in stoppage time. G. Maradona, daughter of late football legend Diego Maradona, said in court that she believes all the people accused are responsible for her father's death. She made this statement after hearing recordings during the trial that she found very upsetting. The trial began in March in Buenos Aires, more than 4 years after Maradona died in November 2020 from heart failure shortly after brain surgery. 7 members of his medical team are on trial, and an 8th will face a jury in July. They are accused of not giving proper care, but all deny the charges. The trial is expected to take several months. Nottingham Forest striker Taiwo Awoniyi is in an induced coma after having the first phase of surgery on a serious abdominal injury. The 27-year-old Nigeria international collided with the post in the 88th minute of the 2-2 draw against Leicester at the City Ground as he attempted to get on the end of a cross from Anthony Elanga. Awoniyi had come on as a substitute for Ibrahim Sangare just 5 minutes before. He got treatment on the field and continued playing but was limping in the final minutes. British media reported that he was placed in a coma after the first stage of surgery. Curtains are up on the 78th Cannes Film Festival, one of the world's most prestigious events in cinema. The celebration is bigger, bolder and more diverse than ever. The mega event brings timeless Indian storytelling back to the world stage. A restored version of a Satyajit Ray classic film, Aranyar Din Ratri, will be showcased, and Rajasthani film Omlu is making its international debut.
The 78th Cannes Film Festival has opened with glitz, power-packed cinema and truly global spirit. This year's edition is truly significant for India, both on and off the screen.
Star-studded Cannes Film Festival opening ceremony was attended by hundreds of celebrities, actors and filmmakers from across the world. For this 78th edition, the jury is chaired by French actress Juliette Binoche, who is joined by American star Halle Berry. Making India proud, acclaimed filmmaker Payal Kapadia has joined the feature film jury. At the opening ceremony, Leonardo DiCaprio honored legendary filmmaker Robert De Niro with honorary Palme d'Or. Partir un jour, film by Amelia Bonin, was the opening film of the festival. Legendary filmmaker Quentin Tarantino declared the Cannes Film Festival competition open.
I'm Sophie, I'm an actress and opera singer from Russia. I'm very happy to be here in the center of film. I feel happy to be with another directors, my colleague. So nice here, so in art.
I'm very happy to be here to see very more movie star and see the very big party.
Cannes 2025 has been a stellar global turnout with themes ranging from war and resistance to love, climate and artificial intelligence dominating the lineup. A restored version of Satyajit Ray classic Aranyar Din Ratri is also being showcased, bringing timeless Indian storytelling back to the world stage. Rajasthani film Omlu's international debut at Cannes Film Festival market, Neeraj Ghayan's Homebound competing in Uncertain Regard section, and SRFTI film a doll made up of clay, is the official selection in the prestigious Larsen section.
With Indian voices on the jury, on the screen and on the red carpet. Cannes 2025 is not just a film festival, it's a moment of recognition for Indian cinema on one of the world's best cinematic stage. With camera person Sumit, this is Jaya Sinha for DD India from Cannes. For this edition of DD India News Hour, do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can catch all the latest news and updates from India and the world on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.